Have you ever found yourself stuck in a situation for too long, feeling drained, but not quite understanding why? Whether with a partner or a friend, at work, or just about life in general. There are moments that we get stuck in a situation for too long. That situation is draining us, it's sucking out our life force energy, but we can't seem to figure it out at the time. I call these soul sucking situations, and it can show up quietly in different moments in our lives. And in today's video, I'm going to share some of the soul sucking situations that I personally experienced. We're going to be talking about toxic relationships, draining work environments, and unhealthy coping mechanisms. But also, most importantly, how do we recognize these signs and start moving towards a healthier life? So let's dive into soul-sucking situation number one. So the first situation that I want to share is toxic relationships and unsupportive friends and family. We as gay men grew up with a lot of insecurities, and many of us have a lot of self-esteem and self-confidence issues. And because of that, we can attract toxic relationships. So, for example, narcissists into our lives. And I dated a narcissist before, and I recently made a video on narcissist relationships, and you can check that out later on. I'm referencing this now. But because we have all of these insecurities, we attract these people into our lives. And also perhaps we are empath and we can like feel other people's emotions as well. But my point is we allow this partner or these people in our lives to diminish our light and to tell that we are less than others. And perhaps you have a partner that it's always diminishing you and complaining about everything, and perhaps who is like passive aggressive and like always doing like little complaints about things that you do and things that you say. And even if it's like little subtle comments that feels like a joke at the time, but over time those situations deplete our energy, and it lowers your self-esteem even more. And perhaps you develop a relationship of codependency with this partner or maybe with a friend. And perhaps you are afraid of being alone, and perhaps you need to develop your self-confidence in being with yourself more often and not feeling lonely, because there's a separation between feeling alone and feeling lonely. And those situations will deplete your energy over time, over the years, for example. But at the time, you won't realize that it's because of that person or it's because of a unsupportive friend. And regarding friendships, I know there could be a lot of drama in our community, and perhaps you have friends that are not supportive of your own growth, and maybe you have plans and dreams and you share with them, but they can't seem to support you, or there's a lot of drama or negativity when you meet up with them. So it's important that we surround ourselves with supportive people, with people that want to see us grow, that want to see us develop and fulfill our dreams and goals. Otherwise, unsupportive friends will deplete our energy and confidence over time. And sometimes, despite some people in your life being your friends, you're gonna have to evaluate whether they are supporting you or they are keeping you stuck in a soul-sucking situation that you don't want to be in anymore. I know it's painful. I've been through that before, but there are moments that we outgrow our situation. Perhaps you are living in a kind of lifestyle with a type of group of friends, and you kind of outgrow that situation and you don't want to be in that situation anymore. And it can be painful, but sometimes we have to let those people go. And it's not their fault, but we have to let them go sometimes, because we don't want to be in that situation anymore. We are growing and evolving, and people will have different levels of growth, of personal growth. But if you're not matched anymore with those type of people in your life, you're gonna have to let them go. And I know that can be painful, but it's part of the personal development process. But it's not just people in our lives that drain our energy. Sometimes it can be where we most spend our time in, which is our jobs. And work environments can definitely suck out our energy. And this leads us to situation number 2, which is draining work environments. And I know that work can be a tough one because it can definitely deplete our energy. And at the same time, we all have to work, we have bills to pay, we have a life to live, and we need money to survive in this reality, right? So I know that. And it can be a tough one depending on where you are, if there's more like employment opportunities or less, and perhaps maybe you feel like you don't have like an option right now. But you don't need to accept less than what you know you deserve. So in the topic of work, I want to share a few examples now that I personally experienced, that it's important to watch out for if that is sucking your energy. So topic 1 at work is if you can be yourself. And I know that we can never be like fully ourselves and our expressive, authentic selves at work, and that we have like a role to play. But if you experience like microaggressions or like passive aggressive behavior again, or that because you're gay you feel that you're not getting the same like development opportunities than your peers, that's a strong sign that over time you will feel less motivated to work in that job. So perhaps pay attention to the balance. And as I mentioned, we're never going to be like as we are at home with our friends at work, and there is a balance. But check that if the balance is healthy and if you are getting the same opportunities as others, if you are being acknowledged for your work, or if it's too stressful. And for example, I had like passive aggressive bosses in the past. She was always stressed and like walking around the office like complaining like about calls and things. And it was just like it was just like a very stressful environment. And I didn't stay in that place for a very long time, to be honest. Another important situation at work is if you're stuck without support or limited growth opportunities, and doing a job for too long without any expectations or development plans will kill your motivation and your goals. For most of my career working in like corporate jobs, I had like promotions, changing companies, like changing jobs and leaving one and joining another one. And because there was always a moment where, okay, so I'm doing this job, there's no like growth anymore, there's no challenge. And my performance reviews, it's always like, okay, but there's always like a promise for the future. And I used to work in London, and in London that's very common to hop jobs every 1 or 2 years. So I started doing that because otherwise I wouldn't get like a pay rise. I wouldn't like being able to afford living in London. So I learned that there is a limit of like waiting for like the promises or like taking action for our own good. So see if the feedback that they're giving you is genuine, or if there's an actual like plan in place for you to develop, for you to get a promotion, or they just want to keep you there performing the same job for many years with no like career growth. Because honestly, what a company wants is someone that do the job very well for the least amount of pay. I had, for example, peers that left from my team, and I would take on more responsibilities and extra work, and I wouldn't get a pay rise. And then when it was time To do the performance review is no, oh yeah, your performance is great, you are achieving like the high standards, but the pay rise is like 3%, and well done for you. And then those moments you need to realize and you need to move on. Something that I've also experienced is micromanagement. And micromanagement usually is a reflection of the other person being insecure. So if you have like a micromanager or boss, they are very insecure in delegating tasks and they want to be in control of everything because they're insecure. So they want to make sure that the job gets done in the way that they want. So micromanagement, I've experienced, and that was definitely damaging to my confidence because I didn't have freedom. I didn't have, like the ability to do my own work. There was always someone like asking me for updates, and sometimes I was spending more energy like doing updates than actually doing work, or like changing slides or changing micro things because that person wanted to do it differently than I did. And know that that doesn't mean that your work is not good, because that's how I interpreted it at the time. It's like, oh, maybe because I'm a foreigner, I need to improve my English, or maybe I'm not good enough. And it is damaging to our self-confidence and like our energy to perform, our energy and our motivation to get promotions and to develop our career. But in the end, I learned that that is a reflection of the other person and it's not on me. And then once I got a micromanager boss again a few years later, and I was more confident, and I was able to ask more questions. For example, it's like, why do I have to do it this way instead of that way? Why do I have to change the slides in this manner, whether if the information is already here? And then eventually I left that job as well because it wasn't fulfilling for me anymore, and I was just like taking orders, always changing things. I became like a secretary to do like micro things, and eventually I left that as well. So my point is reflect on your work and whether the situations are draining your energy, but then that is a reflection of the other person and it's not in you, but perhaps you are like taking on and feeling you are not enough, but that is not the case. In the corporate environment, sometimes the company doesn't have the budget to offer you a promotion, or the business that you're working on will not get like a budget rise to promote people. In the performance review, they won't tell you that, of course. They will say that you need to put on extra goals and that you need to work more. And eventually I realized that the system is not designed for us to thrive and to develop, but just to survive and to work for the company, to work for the business. And sometimes we need to find out where is the moment for us to move on for our own development and benefits. And the third and final soul-sucking situation that I want to share today is unhealthy coping mechanisms. When, as I mentioned, we could have unsupported friendships, when we're working in a stressful environment, we're going to create coping strategies to get by that stress and to survive with those circumstances. But the problem is most of those coping strategies are going to be unhealthy. It can be substance abuse, alcohol or drugs, scrolling your phone, like spending time on your phone too much, or eating not healthy meals and a lot of fat or sugar. I definitely had a sugar addiction in the past. I think I still do, but I need to watch out for, and I need to be mindful of what I eat. Or excessive shopping or procrastination, because we're trying to soothe our system with something that is pleasurable. But when we are in stressful situations, we were gonna soothe our systems, if we're unconscious, with like unhealthy ways, because they relieve the stress in the moment, but it's just a quick fix, If you eat like an ice cream, it's delicious, it's full of sugar, so at the time you get the relief, but it's not healthy on your body. Or I used to go out clubbing a lot when I used to live in London because it was a way of releasing the stress. But then I was tired, I was hungover, and then Sunday it was time to prep for work on Monday, and I didn't do anything with my weekend. And at the time I wasn't realizing, right? But then I was just stressed, but then even like the coping mechanisms that I had was depleting my energy even more, but I couldn't realize it at the time. So it's important to recognize how you're coping with stress and with situations that are draining your energy. And once I realized those, I started to make changes. And changes, they can be small initially. So if you are going out too much on the weekends, perhaps say no and stay at home. And even if you don't do too much, sometimes I would just, like have a restful Saturday and stay in bed longer and cook a nice breakfast and maybe read a book or read something or go for a walk. And I realized that a lot of the friends and the environment, because it was London, it was a big city, there was this pressure that I needed to always do something all the time. So sometimes I would stay home and I would get like questions like, oh, why you're not going out if you're staying at home? Like why you're not going to the club if you don't have anything else to do? And I would feel a lot of pressure because, well, I just don't want to go. But then if a lot of the times I would just do it because I was unconscious, that I wasn't like paying attention to my behaviors. And you don't need to over explain yourself if you just need time on your own. And it's just this programming and this like peer pressure, like to always do something all the time. But that depletes our energy. If you are working in a stressful environment already, and if you don't give your body time to heal and time to renew that energy, over time, over the years, you're going to be more depleted and more drained, like I did after many years of living those circumstances. So if you noticed any of these life-sucking situations in your life, know that healing takes time, and it is a process of like becoming aware of our behaviors, becoming aware of our surroundings, and start making like small shifts and small steps towards a better version of ourselves. And also develop your self-confidence and trust that you deserve better. If any of what I shared today resonates with you, know that you are not alone. And most of us, especially in our gay community, are living in some sort of stressful and like draining environments without even realizing. And I would say that the first step is self-awareness and recognizing where the situations and your own behaviors are draining your energy, and how you can start claiming that energy back. So if you are ready to start making these changes, even small changes, know that you are on the right path in reclaiming your power and reclaiming your energy. And I believe in you and I know you can do it. If you found this video helpful, I appreciate if you can like, comment, or subscribe to my channel for more personal growth content for gay and queer men. And let me know in the comments if you are finding yourself stuck in a soul-sucking situation, and what actions are you taking to move you out of this. And thanks for watching this far. I hope to see you again very soon, and have a good day. Bye bye.